Alrighty, welcome back, guys. Right now I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys kind of a little bit acquainted with SolidWorks right now. So, basically, how SolidWorks works, SolidWorks works. So basically, you have sketches. With sketches, you can make features. Features, you can make parts, and with parts, you can make assemblies. And with parts and assemblies, you could then make drawings. And that will and those drawings serve as instructions to then manufacture those parts and assemblies that you designed. So we're going to start off with that very basic, and this is broadly speaking. I know that for those of you who do have experience in the software, there obviously are exceptions to that kind of hierarchy, but that's kind of generally how this software flows. So to start off, we're going to kind of get into our sketching tools. So let me go ahead and throw my screen up real quick. Oh shit, it's been a minute since I've done this, not gonna lie. Oh shoot. Oh, here we are. Yeah, I actually took a gap year over I graduated high school in 2020 and then took a gap year, so my Zoom skills are a little bit subpar, so I apologize for that. Anyways, so when you first launch SolidWorks, this screen is going to be what pops up. And then to get a new file, you could do Control N to open up a new file, or you can go File, New, doesn't really matter. And then here's where you have your part assembly drawing that I kind of was going over earlier. So right now we're going to select a part. And then from there, we'll click this sketch button up here in the top left corner. And it'll pop up your um, three kind of main planes that every part kind of has. Um, as you guys get more familiar with the software, you'll kind of get a little bit better feel for which one to start on. For today's sake, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the front plane. You'll notice that this little red double arrow thing in the middle, that is going to be your origin. Uh, in my experience, it is best practice to put that origin as close to the center of your part as you can. Obviously, that's not going to be too cut and dry for every part, but generally speaking, putting the origin in the middle of your part is going to serve you best. All right, so now I'm going to go over a few of the sketch tools, or I'll go through all of the sketch tools, and kind of just how to use them, what they're good for, and that kind of stuff. So to start off, here's your line tool right here. Uh, like I said, it's good to start off at the origin because you got to anchor your part to something, right? So even if it's that arbitrary origin, and then it also helps you with assemblies later. So for the line tool, you click the line, and then it's just click where you want to start the line, click where you want to end the line. And then the software kind of assumes that you want to place multiple lines down. So if you want to place a second line, you could go ahead and place that second line. And then to get out of it, you could either press escape, or the other option is double clicking. When you double click, you'll stay in that line tool, so you can then go add other lines. Oops, I triple clicked. But if you press escape, then it'll exit you out of that line tool. So that is the line tool. There's also a few other lines. The other line that is useful is a center line. It works the same as a line. The only difference is that the center line tool, I'll just make another one here real quick. So it's this like long dash with a short dash. So this is considered construction geometry. I like to think of construction geometry as like a helper line. It doesn't actually make like an enclosed region. You can't really make features with it. But you just kind of use it as a line to reference and kind of help build other lines. So I didn't do the best job of explaining that, but basically you could toggle this for construction option right here, and that'll toggle you between a solid line and the center line. Midpoint line, feel free to mess around with that. It's kind of a funky guy. I've only used it a handful of times. But it's there. Most of the times, instead of using a midpoint line, I would actually I'd just use a normal line and then a center line, and then I use this mirror entities button. But we'll get to that later. All right. Next guy, circle. So this little arrow right here, I should actually probably go over this this is a flyout. So if I'm ever using the term flyout, it's going to be the little arrow next to the circle. So this would be the circle flyout. So I'll select the first one, which is just a center point circle. So first click places the center point of the circle. Second point places the radius of the circle. Now it will let you, under this parameters here, it'll let you put the radius and the X and Y for the center point. There's no need for you to mess with these values down here. We'll mess with the radius and stuff using smart dimension, and we'll get to that later. But when students are beginning, a lot of the times they'll mess around with values in this little parameters section down here, and there's really no need to do that. And we'll kind of get into the specifics of that later, but for now, all you need to know, don't change the parameters down here. There's a better way to do that. Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and delete all this. So I'm just gonna click and drag to highlight everything and press delete. It's just because I want it's getting a little messy. So trying to clean it up a little bit. All right, next guy up is the center rectangle. So here, so under the flyout for rectangle, oops, you can click center rectangle. I really like my center rectangles. It's nice because it's just 2 clicks and you get first click defines the center of the rectangle. Next click defines both the length of both sides of the rectangle. So you can place that down and boom, you got yourself a rectangle. There's a few other options on the rectangle. We can go corner rectangle. And you notice here, it'll give you that rectangle type. So it'll say, hey, here's your first click, here's your second click. You know, define where one corner is, and then, or I shouldn't say define, but place one corner and then place the other corner. So that guy is useful as well. Those are the main 2 types of rectangles that I use. So that's all I'm going to show you guys for today. If you guys want to mess around with the other rectangles, they're right here. Feel free to play around with it. Honestly, what's going to really get you guys good at this software is just playing around with it, figuring out what does work, figuring out what doesn't work. That's how I got good. It wasn't necessarily through classes. It was just through messing around with it until I got a good feel for it. All right. Next one I'm going to go ahead and do is the arc. So we have under the arc flyout, we have 3 choices of arcs. I'm going to first show you guys a center point arc. This is probably the one that I use the most. So for the center point arc, you can kind of see right here, first you place the center point, then you place where you want the arc to start, and then you place where you want the arc to end. So I'll start the arc here, place where I want it to start, and then this part's kind of tricky because it's like, oh, if I want it to go this way, it's like, but it's going the other way. Kind of be tricky. I kind of just try to unravel it a little bit. There might be a better way to do this, but in my 3 years of playing with the software, I just kind of unravel it enough to where it eventually gives me what I want. So that's the center point arc. It's pretty useful. I like it a lot. 3-point arc is also very valuable as well. So you can see here, it's like, okay, place where you want it to start, place where you want it to end, and then place kind of where you want it, the curvature of it to be. So where I want it to start, where I want it to end, and then kind of how I want it to curve. So that guy's pretty useful as well. There's also an option for a tangent arc. For a tangent arc, you need a line to kind of go off of that, or another arc. So let me place a line real quick. I'll select the line tool, line start, line end, escape, and then I'll go ahead and go to my tangent arc tool. So basically I click this guy, and then you can kind of see where it'll, oops, I didn't mean to place that. Control Z. Control Z is your best friend in this software, undo. So anyways, so place the tangent arc, and it'll be tangent to that line that I just placed. So you can kind of see where it'll let me place the arc. I think it will also let you place, yeah, it'll let you place multiple tangent arcs kind of in a line. Here it's given me 90 degrees off of it. If I don't want that, I can go back to the point and I can go straight out, and then it'll give me a tangent again. There I went back onto the line, and that's why it's given me that kind of sharp edge there. If I want to go straight out, I just go back to the point and straight out. And again, I'm giving you guys a lot of information right now. A lot of this stuff you guys aren't going to use a whole lot of. But I just want you guys to kind of see it, so that way 3 years down the line, you're not like I'm learning new stuff on this software every day. So I want to expose you guys to as much as I can, just so that way you guys have seen it. So these 4, line, circle, rectangle, arc, that's going to be probably 95% of what you're going to use. Feel free to mess around with some of the other stuff like the slots. But again, for the slots, that's just arcs and lines, or arcs and more arcs. So, but it's nice to have the tool that you could just do it all at one time, right? So like a straight slot, it shows you right here, right? You click, first click is the first center point, second click's the second center point, third click is your radius. The polygon, that's another nice one to have. Say I want to make a pentagon, it's going to be 5 sides. Click once, click twice, you got yourself a polygon. That one's kind of neat. It's nice to have. Sketch fillet, and then under the sketch fillet flyout, there's also sketch chamfer. I am not a fan of that. I would rather see you guys do fillets and chamfers as their own features and not put it in the sketch. So I would stay away from that if you can for now, but if you guys want to play around with it, you definitely can. You just specify your radius, click the corner that you want, and it'll give you guys a fillet. Chamfer, same thing. it'll give you guys your, it'll give you guys a chamfer like that. A fillet has a radius, a chamfer has a degree. So that is something to keep in mind. That's a common confusion that people kind of stumble across. But yeah. So anyways, those are kind of your sketch tools. Again, play around with them. That's going to be the only way that you guys get good at this stuff, but that at least gets you guys acquainted with the most common sketch tools that you use. Feel free to experiment with, like, this guy's a spline. Feel free to play around with that guy. There's some cool stuff you can make with splines. It's just hard to fully define, but we'll get into that later. Ellipses, that's another one that not super common, but you can do some cool stuff with it. So again, feel free to play around with it. Text tool, great way to label parts. I use it all the time. I was actually designing name tags in Solidworks the other day for a company, so that was cool. And I was using the text tool to do the font for that. And then points. There's not going to be a great reason for you guys to use points. They can get kind of dangerous when you guys are starting to fully define your sketches and stuff like that. So I'd stay away from those for now, but you guys could play around with them and see kind of what it does. It's literally just a point. There is value to it, but that's all it is, just a point. But I'll show you guys why that's dangerous a little bit later when we get to fully defining sketches. Yeah, anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Sorry if that was a lot. But now you guys know the basic sketch tools that there are within SolidWorks. Anyways, happy catting. See you guys later.